Jessica Monroe is such a worthless dumbass. The voice cut through the silence of her apartment like a shard of glass, slurred, smug, soaked in bourbon, and years of undeserved arrogance. It wasn't just any voice. It was Garrett Reed, her boss of 20 years, the CEO of Redbridge and Associates. Jessica sat alone at her kitchen table in her worn gray sweatpants, the soft hum of her refrigerator the only sound in the room. Her fingers curled tighter around the edges of her phone. The video was only 34 seconds long, but it shattered 2 decades of loyalty, sacrifice, and sleepless nights. On the screen, Garrett stood in the middle of a laughing crowd at the company's holiday party. A whiskey glass dangled from his hand. Around him, co-workers Jessica had worked alongside for years. Some she had trained, some she had saved from making million-dollar mistakes. Not one of them said a word. "She actually thinks she's irreplaceable," Garrett sneered, his grin crooked, his tie loose. "Watch. By next month, her desk will have a younger, cheaper face, and she won't even see it coming." Some people in the crowd chuckled. A few shifted awkwardly. No one defended her. Jessica watched the video again and again, each replay carved a little deeper. The message that came with it? Sent at 12:04 a.m. from Noah Tran. Subject: "You should see this before Monday." Text: "I'm sorry. I didn't know they were like this." Noah, the only junior she had ever mentored, the kid who used to bring her green tea during audit weeks, who asked her advice before client meetings, who called her his anchor when everything at the firm felt chaotic. He had sent it because he cared, because even he knew this crossed a line. Jessica didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't throw her phone or curse at the world. She sat there still and silent as the clock ticked toward morning. Her mind flickered back over the years. The late nights finishing Garrett's botched presentations. The weekends she'd missed with her sister's family because a client needed emergency damage control. The nights she went home so exhausted she forgot to eat dinner. The times she took the blame so Garrett could keep his spotless reputation. And now this. She stared at the ceiling. Her chest felt like it had caved in on itself. Her pride was crushed. But under the suffocating weight of betrayal, something colder surfaced, clearer, sharper. Resolve. At exactly 7:55 a.m. Monday morning, Jessica walked into the Redbridge and Associates office. Her hair was pulled into its usual sleek, low bun. A deep navy blazer hugged her frame, black slacks, polished pumps. Her signature silver locket rested just below her collarbone, a gift from her father, the one who taught her that dignity didn't require volume, only precision. The office buzzed with its regular Monday chaos, phones ringing, heels clicking, the scent of burnt coffee mingling with cheap cologne. She moved through it like always, head high, posture straight, eyes calm. Garrett's door stood wide open. He was leaned back in his leather chair, laughing with Miles, the CFO. A smug smirk played on his face. Jessica paused in the doorway, smiled. "Morning, Garrett." His eyes flicked up to her. There was a flicker, hesitation, guilt, but it vanished quickly, replaced by that same oily charm. "Jess, good weekend?" She nodded smoothly. "Fantastic. Ready for a productive month." "That's the spirit," he grinned. She turned and walked to her desk, every step deliberate. Let him think she didn't know. Let him believe he still held the cards. Because now, she was no longer playing defense. She was preparing the end game. The rest of the day unfolded as usual. Emails, meetings, polite small talk in the break room. No one suspected. Jessica kept her performance flawless. She offered insights during team briefings. She reviewed reports. She helped a struggling associate clarify a client forecast. She even smiled at Garrett in the elevator. But behind her laptop screen, behind every carefully timed nod and cordial remark, Jessica was taking inventory, not just of files or financial statements, but of people. Who had laughed? Who had stayed silent? Who had looked away when Garrett said the words? Who might follow her if given the chance? And most importantly, who did Redbridge and Associates truly depend on? She knew the answer, and deep down, Garrett did too. That's why he needed her gone quietly. Without a scene, without a headline, Jessica opened a fresh folder on her desktop and titled it in bold, "Exit Strategy, Final Phase." She leaned back, her expression unreadable. Her world had shifted, yes, but Garrett Reed had just made the most expensive mistake of his life, and he didn't even know it yet. By the time the Tuesday sun rose over downtown Seattle, Jessica Monroe was already on her second cup of black coffee, scrolling through the financial dashboards she'd monitored every morning for 15 years. Everything looked ordinary, but under that polished routine, something had shifted. Garrett Reed didn't know it yet, but the countdown had begun. Monday morning, week 1. At Redbridge and Associates, Jessica Monroe was a ghost in plain sight. She moved through the office like clockwork. 5 minutes early, navy blazers buttoned just right, her heels never clicking too loud, her tone always composed. In meetings, she spoke when needed, nodded when appropriate, and offered solutions like clockwork. If anyone suspected the storm she was building, they didn't show it. Miles, the CFO, still passed her in the hallway with the same distracted nod. Tina from HR still asked if she wanted to join the March charity drive. Noah Tran, her junior analyst and silent confidant, avoided her gaze, but when he passed her a printed report during their team huddle, she noticed a single word handwritten in the corner. Ready. It was the only word she needed. Phase 1. Legal leverage. Tuesday evening, Jessica met Melina Ford at a quiet wine bar 2 blocks from her apartment. Melina was more than just a lawyer. She was a corporate bulldog. Smart, sharp, and loyal. The kind of woman you didn't cross. The kind of woman Garrett Reed had no idea Jessica was friends with. So, Melina said, scanning the printout of Jessica's employment contract, he said it on camera, in front of employees while drunk, on company property. Jessica nodded. Melina's eyebrows lifted. You don't just have a severance negotiation, Jess. You've got a loaded cannon. Jessica exhaled. I'm not suing. Yet. I want leverage, a clean exit, and I want to take what's mine. Melina's smirk could cut steel. Let's begin. They reviewed every clause, non-compete, NDA, discretionary bonus language. Every section Garrett had skimmed over during her last promotion became her armor. Just make sure you don't access anything outside your permissions, Melina warned. I won't, Jessica replied, but I will make use of what I've built. Phase 2, the clients. Jessica knew her value wasn't in titles. It wasn't in the corner office she never received or the bonuses she was passed over for. Her power lived in relationships, and so she activated them. She started with the old guard, Richard Ames of Cascade Freight, Marcy Leong from Stratus Technologies, Vince Holloway, a retiree who'd once told her, "You're the only reason I sleep through quarterly reports." She reached out for catch-up coffee meetings. Every conversation was subtle. Just thinking about long-term flexibility, she'd say. Or, have you ever considered what it would be like to work with someone directly, without the layers? Richard leaned forward over their lattes and said, Jessica, the day you walk out of Redbridge, my portfolio walks with you. Phase 3, Sterling Fox Capital, Friday evening, Jessica walked into Del Mar Grill, an upscale restaurant nestled along the waterfront where Lana Fox had reserved a private booth. Lana, the COO of Sterling Fox Capital, wore black silk and confidence. The firm was sleek, aggressive, and everything Garrett had once called low-tier sharks. Jessica had never believed him. Not anymore. So, Lana said, setting down her wine, you're not just here to hand us a few resumes, are you? Jessica slid a folder across the table. Inside, a 1-page breakdown of Redbridge's active accounts, weak contract links, and potential vulnerabilities. Nothing illegal, just insightful. You're not asking for a job, Lana said slowly, her expression sharpening. You're offering us a corporate kill shot. Jessica met her gaze. I'm offering you a precision transition. Seamless, legal, immediate. A beat passed. Lana smiled. I love a woman who doesn't waste time. Back at Redbridge, week 2. The office continued with its usual rhythms, but Jessica noticed the subtle shifts. Garrett had gotten louder in meetings, as if trying to reassert his dominance. Noah avoided the lunchroom entirely, and Miles, once a smug number cruncher, was starting to look twitchy. He dropped papers during a budget review, missed a decimal in a quarterly forecast. Jessica didn't correct him. She let it slide. She was no longer Redbridge's safety net. They just didn't know it yet. Like 3. Tension builds. Jessica started leaving earlier. A small signal. Subtle. She turned down Garrett's invitation to speak at the spring conference. Declined with grace. When he chuckled, "Too busy, Jess?" She simply smiled and replied, "Actually, yes." She could feel it, the power shifting. She received more direct emails from clients than ever before. Questions bypassed Garrett, routed straight to her inbox. The quiet murmur of the office had changed too. People were watching her differently, some with suspicion, others with quiet admiration. In the break room, Tina from HR whispered, "If you ever left, the whole place would fall apart." Jessica smiled. "I guess we'll never know." Week 4. Final moves. Jessica's apartment became a war room. Manila folders labeled transition plans. Flash drives encrypted with data she was legally authorized to access. Handwritten notes with client preferences, timelines, pet peeves. One evening, her kitchen table was lit only by the warm glow of a single lamp as she composed the message that would trigger the first collapse. Subject: Availability. To Charles Donnelly, Donnelly Pharmaceuticals. Dear Charles, after much consideration, I've decided to explore independent advisory opportunities. Your account has always meant a great deal to me. If you're open to a conversation about continued service, I'd love to schedule a discovery call. Warm regards, Jessica Monroe. She hovered over the send button, then clicked Schedule Send, Monday, 8:00 a.m. Sunday night, the calm before the war, Jessica sat by her window, wrapped in her favorite wool shawl, a hot mug of tea in her hands. The skyline blinked softly beyond the glass. Her mind was quiet. No rage, no fear, only purpose. Behind her, on her desk, the exit folder sat closed. Her laptop displayed the scheduled messages, resignation letters, follow-up client emails, encrypted shares to Lana Fox. She looked at the digital clock on her wall, 23 hours, 58 minutes. She whispered into the stillness, "Tick, tock." Monday morning came, draped in the usual gray of a Seattle spring, quiet, chilled, and heavy with unspoken tension. But inside Redbridge and Associates, something felt sharper, like glass about to break. Jessica Monroe walked through the main entrance at exactly 8:00 a.m., the same way she had for 20 years. But today, every click of her heels across the marble lobby echoed like a drumbeat of change. Her charcoal blazer was tailored to precision. Her blouse was crisp ivory silk. Her eyes, focused, cold, alert. The storm she had been cultivating for 4 weeks had finally reached its eye, and she was ready to bring it all down. 8:00 a.m., the first shot. Charles Donnelly opened the email just as he sat down with his espresso. Subject: Availability for future collaboration. Jessica's message was short, warm, and devastating. By 8:17 a.m., her phone buzzed. Charles Donnelly. "Let's talk today. I've been waiting for this." She didn't smile, yet. But the satisfaction began to hum beneath her skin like a quiet engine. At 8:45, another ping lit up her screen. Lana Fox. "All set on our end. Client transition decks are finalized. Standing by." Jessica typed back a single word. "Soon." The office reacts. By mid-morning, whispers had begun. Jessica caught sidelong glances from coworkers she'd mentored, managed, and once invited to her home for dinner parties. Now, they were trying to figure her out like a riddle they were too late to solve. Even Miles, the CFO who used to roll his eyes during her presentations, seemed to avoid eye contact as she passed by. Noah Tran, bless his anxious heart, looked pale as paper in the break room. When their eyes met, he offered a tiny nod of solidarity. Jessica returned it with the subtlest wink, because everything was going to plan. 3:30 p.m. Garrett's move. Just before her final act, Jessica received the expected summons. Email. Subject: Meeting request. From Diana Ruiz, head of HR, to Jessica Monroe. Please report to Mr. Garrett Reed's office at 3:30 p.m. She closed the email, took a long sip of water, adjusted her locket, and stood. No trembling hands, no hesitation. She passed glass-walled conference rooms filled with analysts and project leads. Some looked up, some didn't. Jessica didn't care, because what she was walking toward was not a confrontation. It was closure. The firing. Rehearsed, predictable, pathetic. Diana Ruiz sat across from Garrett, a beige folder in front of her. Garrett's usual arrogance was carefully hidden beneath a mask of faux regret. Jessica sat down gracefully, legs crossed, pen poised in her right hand. Garrett cleared his throat like he was starting a bad speech. "Jessica," he began, "we deeply appreciate your years of service, truly. But as you know, the market's shifting, and unfortunately, we've had to make some restructuring decisions." Jessica didn't blink. "I see. We're offering you a generous severance package, along with a mutual NDA to ensure privacy during this transition." Diana slid the folder toward her. Jessica didn't touch it. "Just to clarify," she said softly, "this is a final decision?" Garrett, visibly relieved by her calmness, nodded. "Yes, it is." "Perfect," Jessica said, standing. No tears. "No protests, just precision. 4:00 p.m. The real exit." Jessica returned to her desk with calm, deliberate steps. She packed slowly, 2 framed photos, a leather notebook, and her favorite mug. Then she sat one last time at her terminal. Opened Outlook. Subject, Transition Availability. To Charles Donnelly, Veronica Haynes, Vince Holloway, and 6 others, 8 clients representing over 60% of Redbridge's revenue. Dear friends, as of today, I've concluded my time with Redbridge & Associates. Thank you for your trust and support over the years. If you'd like to continue working together through independent consulting, I'd be honored to set up a conversation. Warm regards, Jessica Monroe. She pressed send, and just like that, Garrett Reed's foundation began to splinter. 5:00 p.m. Goodbye, Redbridge. As Jessica left the building for the last time, the doorman gave her a curious nod. She returned it with a smile. She didn't look back, not even once. Monday night. Collapse begins. At 9:04 p.m., Garrett received his first shock. Charles Donnelly called him directly. His voice was cool and decisive. "You lost me, Garrett. I'm moving my accounts to Jessica. She's the only reason I stayed this long." Click. By 10:30 p.m., Veronica Haynes followed suit. At midnight, 3 more clients had officially terminated their contracts. Redbridge was hemorrhaging money. Garrett sat in his condo in disbelief, dialing number after number, hoping someone would offer him control. None did. Tuesday morning, full panic mode. When Garrett arrived at the office, Redbridge was unrecognizable. Miles was in the executive suite, pacing. Legal was frantically combing through NDAs. Diana looked like she hadn't slept. "Where is she?" Garrett barked. "Jessica?" Miles replied, startled. "She's gone, Garrett. You fired her." Garrett grabbed his phone, dialed, straight to voicemail, tried again, nothing. He sent a text. "Jessica, call me. Urgent." No reply. At 11:15 a.m., and she finally answered. "Garrett," she said, her voice calm and unsympathetic. "I think we need to clear the air," he said quickly. "This whole thing has spiraled. Charles is spooked, but we can fix it." Jessica didn't laugh. She didn't shout. She just said, "You once said I was a worthless dumbass. Why do you need me now?" Silence. "That was just office banter," he started. Jessica interrupted. "Garrett, I don't hold grudges. I make strategic decisions." "Are you working with Sterling?" "I don't see how that's relevant." "Jessica, please, this isn't smart. You're burning bridges." She smiled. "No, Garrett, you burned the bridge. I just made sure you saw the flames." And then she hung up. Tuesday afternoon. Sterling Fox Capital. Jessica's name had already been added to the executive directory. Title, Senior Partner. Her first day wasn't filled with orientation manuals or HR videos. It was filled with client meetings, strategy calls, vision sessions. Every client who followed her didn't ask about Redbridge. They asked about what came next, about how she could help them grow. At 3:15 p.m., Lana Fox knocked on her door. 3 more clients confirmed, including Donnelly. "You're a machine," Jessica smiled, setting down her pen. "Just efficient." 4:00 p.m. Garrett's final realization. Garrett sat alone in his office. The blinds were drawn. The light above flickered slightly. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was Miles. "Garrett," he said, voice tight. "The board called an emergency session. Today, 5:30. Garrett stared at the floor. He wasn't just losing control. He was becoming irrelevant. By Wednesday morning, Redbridge and Associates had become a battlefield, and Garrett Reed was standing in the middle of it without a helmet, let alone a strategy. He hadn't slept. The half-buttoned shirt, disheveled hair, and tie draped around his neck like a noose told the full story before he even spoke. The executive wing, once a place of confident chatter and clinking espresso cups, now echoed with urgent whispers, slammed doors, and the unmistakable scent of panic. The clients were gone. The control was slipping. And Garrett Reed was finally starting to understand what Jessica Monroe meant when she said, "Perfect. 9:03 a.m. Corporate artery bleed." Garrett sat at his desk, a cold cup of untouched black coffee sweating beside him. Across his screen, 3 messages blinked in red. Veronica Haynes, account termination. Liam Petrovic, transferring all assets. Donnelly Pharmaceuticals, final exit notification. He leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and exhaled through clenched teeth. "This isn't happening," he muttered. But it was, and it was just the beginning. Miles, the CFO, cracks first. In the boardroom, Miles paced like a caged animal. His sleeves were rolled to his elbows, his tie discarded somewhere hours ago. "We can't sustain another day like this," he barked to Diana Ruiz, the HR head. She rubbed her temples. "You think I don't know that?" Miles slammed a folder on the table. "She took the contracts, Diana. Not illegally, but surgically. She was always 10 moves ahead of Garrett, and none of us saw it." On from the hallway, junior employees passed quietly. They were afraid to speak, afraid to be seen. Everyone had heard the rumors. Now they were watching them unravel in real time. 11:42 a.m. The media hits. Jessica sat in her sleek new office at Sterling Fox Capital, a floor-to-ceiling view of the Seattle skyline behind her. Her phone buzzed with a push notification. Bloomberg headline: Redbridge and Associates faces corporate exodus. CEO Garrett Reed under fire after mass client departures. Below the headline, a subcaption read, "Sources say Jessica Monroe, the former senior advisor at Redbridge, has joined Sterling Fox Capital as their newest senior partner." Jessica sipped her green tea and smiled. It wasn't just a win, it was a reckoning. Garrett's desperation peaks. "Call her again," Garrett snapped at his assistant. "Text, email, walk over there for all I care." "Sir," the young man stammered, she's not responding, and she works for Sterling now. They're screening your calls." Garrett's hand clenched around the edge of his desk. His phone rang, an internal line. "Garrett, it's Neil," came the voice of the board chair. "We've scheduled a leadership review. Today, 5:30. It's non-negotiable." Garrett's jaw twitched. "You're forcing a vote." There was a long pause. "We're giving you the dignity to resign. Take it." Click. Sterling Fox, the power rebuilds. That afternoon, Lana Fox entered Jessica's office with a spring in her step. "2 more clients have signed," she said, dropping a thick binder on the desk. "Jessica, you're not just transferring accounts, you're transforming this place." Jessica glanced over the client list, then looked up with calm certainty. "I'm just doing what I've always done, but this time I get the credit." Noah Tran knocked gently a second later. He peeked in, smiling nervously. "Veronica and Liam both asked for you personally. They're ready to roll out new investment strategies under your name." Jessica nodded. "Let's get them what they need." She wasn't basking in glory. She was building something bigger, permanent. The return to Redbridge. Thursday, 3:10 p.m. Jessica stepped into Redbridge headquarters, this time not as an employee, but as a symbol. The security guard didn't stop her. The receptionist didn't ask why she was there. Everyone knew. The office floor fell silent. Some watched her pass with awe, others with guilt, but no one dared speak. Garrett's door was open. His office half-packed, blinds half-drawn. He looked up, eyes hollow, skin pale. "You came," he said. Jessica stepped in. She didn't sit. Garrett motioned weakly. "Do you want to gloat?" She stared at him, unflinching. "Do you think I'm that small?" He let out a bitter laugh. "I guess I don't know you at all." "No," she said. "You never did." The last plea. I lost everything," Garrett whispered. "The board is replacing me. My network's gone, and I'm about to be sued by 2 clients." Jessica tilted her head. "And what does that have to do with me?" "I need a chance," he pleaded. "Just anything. You're powerful now. You can open doors." Jessica stepped closer, locking eyes with the man who once humiliated her in front of his entire company. "You don't need a job, Garrett," she said softly. "You need a mirror." His shoulders sagged, and in that moment, Garrett Reed, CEO, tycoon, boardroom bully, was just another man drowning in the wake of his own ego. Jessica turned to leave, but at the door she paused. "You were right about one thing," she said without turning back. "I didn't see it coming. I saw everything." And then she walked away. Friday morning headlines. Garrett Reed resigns as CEO amid collapse. Jessica Monroe's rise reshapes Sterling Fox's future. Redbridge in ruins, clients, talent, and trust gone. Across LinkedIn and Wall Street journals, Jessica's name became synonymous with smart retaliation and leadership under fire. A message that meant more than any promotion. Friday evening, Jessica received a direct message from a stranger on LinkedIn. "I'm a 47-year-old mother of 2 who was told last week I was being phased out. I read about you, and instead of crying in my car, I printed your article and walked into my manager's office. Thank you for showing me what power looks like when you use it with grace." Jessica teared up for the first time in weeks, not from sadness, but from impact. Monday morning. 1 week since the collapse of Redbridge. The world hadn't ended. It had simply restructured itself, like a building whose foundation had shifted overnight, cracking the marble, breaking old systems, and letting new ones rise in their place. And at the very center of this new skyline, Jessica Monroe. She walked into Sterling Fox Capital wearing a navy blue pantsuit sharper than Garrett Reed's best Armani ever was. Her heels echoed across the white marble lobby floor with quiet finality. The security guard at the desk stood when he saw her. "Morning, Ms. Monroe," he said with a nod. "Good morning, Caleb." Everyone knew her name now, and not because she demanded it, because she earned it. A new beginning. Her new office sat at the corner of the 28th floor, clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows, and sunlight pouring in like a spotlight from the universe itself. Jessica paused before her desk and took a deep breath, not to settle her nerves, but to enjoy the moment. Everything she had lost, respect, trust, visibility, had been reclaimed piece by piece, and not through vengeance, through precision, through calm, deliberate choices that cut deeper than any angry speech ever could. On her desk sat a gift box wrapped in deep forest green with a cream satin ribbon. A note attached. "Welcome to your rightful place, Lana." She smiled and set it aside. 12:08 p.m. The final visit. Her assistant knocked. "Jessica, there's someone here to see you." Jessica didn't look up. "Who?" The hesitation was answer enough. "Garrett Reed." Silence. Jessica leaned back in her chair. She didn't blink. "Send him in." A few moments later, Garrett appeared in the doorway, if you could still call him that. The once cocky CEO was a shell of his former self. His eyes were sunken, his skin paler than before, and the sharp suits had been traded in for a tired gray coat and dress shoes worn at the heel. He stepped inside slowly, unsure of where to stand. "I didn't expect you to say yes," he said finally. Jessica gestured toward the chair across from her desk, but she remained standing. "I figured you weren't here to gloat." He gave a weak smile. "No, I'm here to admit I was wrong." Jessica raised an eyebrow. "That's new." Garrett let out a breath like it physically hurt. "I deserved what happened. Every client, every headline, every door that closed in my face. He paused, then added, I can't get a single call back from any firm, not even consulting gigs. I've been unofficially blacklisted. Jessica didn't flinch. That's not surprising. He looked at her, eyes bloodshot. I'm not here to beg. I just wanted to ask. She waited. If there's any way you could help me, just something. I need a job, Jess. Jessica crossed the room, calm as glass. When she reached him, she said, You called me a worthless dumbass. You said it publicly. You laughed about it. I know. You let your people laugh too. You made sure I left with nothing but a manila envelope and a rehearsed HR statement. He swallowed hard. And now you want me to offer you grace? A pause. He nodded. Shame thick in his throat. Yes. Jessica looked him over, not with anger, not with superiority, but with finality. You don't need a job, Garrett. He blinked. You need a mirror. And then she walked back behind her desk, sat down, and opened her laptop. This meeting is over. Garrett didn't argue, didn't protest. He turned and left quietly, the door clicking behind him like a nail in a coffin. The power of visibility. That Thursday, Jessica's face appeared on the cover of Forbes Women, smiling confidently. Headline, The Executive Who Rebuilt Herself and Her Industry. Inside, a 6-page feature told her story, from Red Bridge's scapegoated advisor to Sterling Fox's powerhouse partner. Jessica didn't just win. She changed the playbook, and the world noticed. Inbox of Impact days later, her LinkedIn inbox was overflowing. Speaking invites from Stanford, Columbia, and Wharton. A book agent asking for a memoir. Dozens of women, executives, assistants, HR reps, writing to say her story gave them courage. One message stopped her breath. Hi, Jessica. I'm 54. I've worked quietly for years in a role where I've been invisible. Last week, I got passed over again for a promotion I earned twice over. I was going to quit. Then I read your story. I stayed, and I asked for what I deserved, and today they gave it to me. Thank you. Jessica reread the message twice, then leaned back and let herself smile, not the smirk of revenge, but the satisfaction of impact. Epilogue. Friday evening. The city lights twinkled below like 1,000 tiny victories. Jessica stood at the window of her penthouse apartment, a glass of red wine in hand. She thought of the video, the laughter, the humiliation, the silence that followed. But those memories no longer stung, because they weren't who she was. She wasn't the woman in the video. She was the woman who rewrote the ending. No, she didn't burn bridges. She built new ones, with her name engraved in gold. Final voiceover. Closing the A1 arc. They thought I'd break, that I'd beg, that I'd disappear into the background like I always had. But I didn't. I rose. I reclaimed everything they tried to erase. My voice, my legacy, my power. And I learned, respect isn't requested. It's earned. And once earned, it never has to beg for a seat at the table again. Jessica clinked her glass gently against the edge of the window. I win, she whispered. Fade out.